Hello, welcome to our second lesson for Python Basics. And in this lesson, we will talk about the data collections and the list objects in Python. And as usual, we have two parts. First is our interview question, and second is our example or sample application. Let's first start with our second part, with sample application. As a sample application, we have some kind of storage program. It's very simple. And when you run your this program, you get menu in form of items, and I can select, for example, 1 and add new element, for example 12, and after each operation I will see my final result, my final storage. For example, I can add one more item, it's 13, one more item, which is 14. I can delete. It is operation number 3, so let's delete second element 1, because in list we have our index starts with 0, so I will delete. So I see that second element is deleted, and now I can add one more element. Let's say 20. I will add one more element. It will be string hello. And I will change hello, for example. In this case, it asks for index of the element. I want to change, it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and it will be hello world. Yeah, that's our sample application. Now let's discuss how we can create this kind of application with using lists. And before we start, let's exit. So for exit, we had operation 0, and let's open our Python and start with basics. So basically in Python you have four kind of data collections. So first is a list, second is tuple, third is set, and fourth is dictionary. Yeah, and each of them, they work separately. They are all lists, but they work separately. And in this video we'll talk exactly about list, and in our next examples we will talk about tuple, set, dictionary, and finally we will compare them, and you will understand how you can use, and in which cases you can use, for example, list, and when you can use dictionary, for example. So let's first start with a list. In a Python, to define a list, you use a variable, of course, for example, my list, and in a square brackets, you add your elements. For example, 1, 2, we list our elements 1, 2, 3, and 4, for example. And when I check my list, for example, I see that I have these elements, and you can, of course, add new element to the list. My list, append, let's say 5. And now if I check my list, I see that I have now 5 elements. And that's basically, for example, one of advantages of list, because you can add new element, you can extend list. So we can do like this, for example, my list, extend, and I can specify a new list. For example, in this list I will have strings A, B, C. Yeah, I need to close it. Okay. And now if I check my list, I see that I have all my previous elements and I have my new elements. And also lists in Python, they are mutable. So you can change elements in your list, and we can do it. For example, my list and element number 3, which is 4, because index starts with 0, and I will set, for example, 40. And now when I check my list, I see that instead of 4 I have now 40. And also, for example, if I want to just iterate over list, I will check all iteration statements, iteration operations separately. But for now, let's say if we want to check for all elements for x in my list, just print X. Yeah. And now we can list them. So it's quite a basic operation. And for example, if I want to delete, so it's our last operation. Let's say I want, first let's again print as a list. And let's say I want to delete the last element. Yeah, let's first delete, and then I will explain one more function. So I want to delete from my list last item. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Element number 7, it is C. And now if I check, yeah, we don't have C. And you can also get all number of all elements in list by using len function. So we can do my list. We will see number of all elements. And for example, if I now want to delete the last element, I can do following. For example, del my list. And instead of number, exact number, I will do like this: len my list again. It will give me number of all elements. And by -1, I will get index of last element. Yeah, it should be B. So let's check my list. Yeah, we see that we don't have B now in our list. And now, when you know all basic operations, of course you can do a lot with list. We have some additional operations, but for beginning, this kind of operations, they should be enough. And now let's go to our sample application and see how we can do the same as I have right now. First, I will just run it again. So you see that when you run this application, this program, it's quite simple, of course. You get menu, and you have option to select. When you complete this first operation, you get again menu, and you can select, and that it continues forever. And you can use 0 to exit from application. So let's try and see how we can do the same. And for this, I have source code. First, let's check with this one. And yeah, let's first see. As a first lines, I have my prints, where I print all my operations. And then I have my storage. So I define a new list. And I will use this variable to store all my added elements or remove them. So it will be our storage where we will store, or from where we will delete our elements. And then we have a while loop. We will talk about loops in our next videos, but for now it means that continue this part of code, this code forever, because we always have true. But as a first lines, I have a check. So I see that if I have operation, first I ask for operation. I see that please enter operation. That's this line here. And I check if I have as operation 0, which is exit, I am stopping my while loop. As I said, we will check all these break and file statements in our next videos, but for now it should be enough that you know that when you have while true, you have continuous loop, and when you call break, it will stop current loop. That's the basics. And then when I don't have 0, I am checking for other operations. I ask first. I of course check for add, then for change, and then for delete. First is quite simple. When we have 1, we ask for new element. So we ask user to specify new element. So we can check this here. First I select operation. It's 1, and then when we have 1, it goes here. And it asks for new element. Let's say 10. And now we have our storage, as you remember. It's our storage list. It's basically just called storage, it's a variable's name. And in this variable, we add our new item. And if I again enter operation 1 and enter, for example, 11, it will go to the same variable. So I have now 2 elements in my list. Second operation is more interesting because in this operation we ask for two inputs. First is our index, so which element we want to change, and as a second input we ask for new value for this element. For example, let's say we will add one more element. Let's do 1 and 13, and now I want to change this element to a new item. So for this I will specify 2. It will ask for items index. It's just input and we will get index. So it is 1 because in list our index starts with a 0. So I will specify 1, which is 11. And now it asks for value of this element. I will say that I want to change it to string hello, for example, and when I press enter, I see that my final result, which is our storage variable, now it is 10 string hello and 13, and it is done by this operation here. So we have our storage, which is list, our index, which is our input. In our case it's 1, it was 1, and I said new variable. When you set the same index a new value, it will override existing one. And as a third operation is deleting. It's quite simple. We again get for index and call del statement. It's del operator, and it will remove given index, given item from the list. And basically we have potential errors here. For example, if I press add, let's just try to change, and I as an index I specify 20. And as a new item I specify 120. It will give me error because we don't have item number 20 in our list. We can catch this kind of errors, but we will do it in our next videos. It's try catch if you want to research it by yourself, but we will have video on these statements. But for now, for just simple understanding list, how it works, and what you can do with the basics, I think that's enough. Please check our first video. It was about some basic stuff in Python. And also check description, because in description to this video I will add all related videos, so you can check them out. And also please make sure that you are subscribed and you have these notifications enabled, so when I have a new video you will get notification. For now, thanks for watching, and see you in next videos. Bye bye.